everyone. Your designers are here.
I'm Anita from Cedar Hill Farmhouse.
And I'm Yvonne at Stone Gable.
And I'm Kelly from My Soulful Home. And we have tips and tricks and decorating advice for you today. So let's get started.
Today we are going to be talking about our failures. So are y'all ready to talk about what you've done wrong?
We are. I am.
Okay, we'll admit it.
I don't know why, but for some reason, I just got so excited about this episode. Why am I so excited about talking about what I've done wrong?
Because you want to hear the dark side of Yvonne and I.
Y'all are funny. Well, speaking of that, Yvonne, okay, so I want to hear your deepest, darkest decorating disaster.
Ooh.
Well, I'm trying to think which one of all the ones that I've done you want to hear about today.
We're going to try to keep it to about a half hour, Yvonne.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I'll tell you one that affected us for quite a while. Let's start with that one. I have a study, and I wanted to paint my study, and we have a back set of stairs here in Stone Gable. And so to paint, you just can't paint the study. You have to paint up the stairs in the little hallway upstairs going into our guest suite. And so I was this was about, it's been over a decade, really into like a very soft terracotta color. And picked the color out. It was a Martha Stewart color. It was absolutely beautiful on the chip. And bought all of the paint, and then came home, and I said to Bobby, hey, Bobby, I've got this brilliant idea. It always starts with that. And I said, how about if you paint my study? I'd really love that. And dear sweet Bobby, being who he is, said, oh, okay, I'll do that. But he had to put up scaffolding because our ceilings were so high going from the first to the second floor. So he was doing all that, and I went away for the day. And when I came home, he surprised me and had painted my study up the stairs in the hallway.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, that was
would never
very
happen to me.
sweet of him.
Yeah,
the
really.
problem was, it was like I was inside of a Pepto-Bismol bottle.
Oh,
it was,
no.
Yeah, it
and your
was
stomach
so,
still hurts.
Oh, it was so like pink, and it just wasn't that gorgeous soft terracotta color that I was thinking of.
Oh, no.
And this was in my Tuscan phase, and and it was
Yes,
just like
had one too.
so pink, and that was a really tough one. And he was so proud that he did this. He did this whole
poor
project
Bobby.
for me.
On
I
so
know.
many levels, it's awful.
I know, there are so many levels. And what do you say to someone who's worked so hard? And I didn't want to let him know, but like when I started like crying buckets, he got the idea that like,
These
And
are
so-
not tears of joy.
no. And it's so funny because Bobby and I always seem to be connected to my biggest blunders. Like we're partners in crime.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. So that was
So-
mine.
So, no, okay. Yvonne, let's break it down. What did you do to fix it?
Well, he had taken the scaffolding down, and by then he didn't want to spend, a weekend repainting it. So, to be honest with you, I lived with it.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
now it wasn't. Now it's in a very private part of our house. It has a, it has a door that closes to the outside world and to the rest of my house. It's not like it was my living room.
So you sealed up the room and cried your tears.
Yes, well,
and saved your marriage.
yeah. Well, you know what? That was number one. I was going to save my marriage. I spent way too long getting Bobby just how I want him to be. I wasn't going to redo that. But no, I actually had to live with it for about a year and a half, about 18 months. And
wow.
that was okay. I mean, if it was my dining room, I probably would have done it myself. But, I was so busy doing other things that it got put on the back burner. And it's amazing how blunder blind you can be if you really need to. And so then about 18 months later, we repainted the entire thing.
Oh, wow.
And I helped him, and I didn't buy all the paint at one time. I bought paint chips, and then I'm very big into buying little pots of paint, like the little sample pots.
As a result of this, or all
Oh,
along?
absolutely. This is the big takeaway lesson. If it's like do what I say, not what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I have a great product that everybody should have if they're going to be painting, either for testing colors, but particularly for touch-up painting. It's called My Paint Saint.
Oh, love
And
it.
you can check
Me
it out
too.
at mypaintsaint.com. Yvonne and Anita have tried this product too, and I think that they can vouch for it as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's an all-in-one touch-up painting solution. So the brush is melded into the cap, and it is sealed with an airtight gasket. So your paint doesn't oxidize. You don't ever have to clean the brush, and you don't have to keep all those nasty, ultimately rusty paint cans around. And then when you go to pry them open, the paint has probably changed color anyway. So I use it for testing paint. I use it for testing paint with clients. You pour it a little bit, and then you can paint. And I have all my colors in My Paint Saints and labeled, and it has an area to label them, and I just keep them on the shelf. And so I touch up rather than trying to scrub off the marks the kids put on the walls and the moldings.
I
So
agree.
just a
It's
little
a
tip
brilliant
there,
product.
ladies.
It's a brilliant product. Yep.
I love it. Yes, I definitely use it as well. So so your takeaway is what, Yvonne, for readers? Like, how can they avoid this particular problem?
Well, this is sort of a no-brainer. I wish I would have thought of this before we painted. Don't buy the paint all at one time, the first from a paint chip. You want to buy little pots of sample paint. And I know that they have like the larger sheets that are colored the color of the paint, but I don't think that's as true. I paint the samples on all my walls and look at it at different times of the day. And also, with a pencil, mark what your color is so you
Oh,
don't
good,
forget if you're
good.
using more than 2 or 3.
So do you
And
put on several at a time or just one at a time on the wall?
I put them in like stripes
Okay.
going across, like, large, like maybe 6-inch stripes going down the wall.
Okay.
Or across the wall, excuse me. And that gives me a good look at the difference in the paint colors during the different times of day.
Well, I've got to tell you now, I'm not going to talk about my Pepto-Bismol wall because you've already done it, but I had the same thing happen. So I'm just going
dear.
to say that right here.
Oh.
What? So I don't know what it is about Pepto-Bismol, but it seems to keep showing up. So Kelly, what was yours? Deepest, darkest. I mean, what was it?
Well, it was just such a chore that I had created for myself. So I had inherited this beautiful table, and my style is to be a little bit rougher and it is very pristine and beautifully finished. So I would kind of wanted to rough it up a little. I didn't want matching chairs. So I had fallen in love with those Tolix, Tolix chairs. Those are the metal bistro chairs.
Are these the ones with the curved back and they look very industrial?
Yes, they look very industrial. They were first developed in 1934, which was actually the year my prior home was built. And they're metal, and my girls were little at that point, and they always had stuff falling out of their mouths. So I thought this will be perfect, not an upholstered chair, and you can get them without arms or with arms, and they were traditionally used in cafes, and they could be left outside, very durable, but so cool, just and
Kelly,
in the galvanized metal.
That's right.
So
They're on
actually
trend. They're on trend.
Right, and
yeah,
they come in
and
different
I-
colors too, right?
they do come in different colors, but I wanted the galvanized ones. And actually, the fellow Xavier Pouchard, who
very
developed or invented the Tolex chair, he really invented galvanizing. So he found that if you dipped the sheet metal into zinc, then you created this galvanized coating, and they could stay outside and all this stuff. So anyway, that's a little aside. But anyway, I am searching the internet and finding these chairs and different prices, and I needed 8. So I order 8 of these chairs, and I just can't wait. And this is just gonna make my dining room exactly what I've always dreamed of it. Okay, so they arrive in 8 separate, gigantic, like almost refrigerator-sized boxes.
Yeah, those
no.
are not. I can see that would not be a small box.
No, not a small box, but ironically, the problem was the chairs were too small for the table.
No.
I got so whipped up into the look that I
No.
just didn't measure.
Oh,
What do you
So
mean
my
by too small? What does that
They
mean,
were
too
too
small?
short. So the leg
The
of the
seats?
chair, yeah. So the chair, from the floor to the seat was too short. My table.
Oh, honey, that's an easy fix. Just cut that table down.
No, you couldn't. If I could show you the bottom of the table, it's got like these crossbars, and you just
okay.
can't. And it has these bald feet, and there's carving. You just couldn't. So, anyway, I got that table for my mother, and there was no way I was cutting the legs off.
Okay.
So I get them out of the boxes, and I'm so excited, and all the packing's flying, and I slide them up, and I'm not a big person, but anyone would be too little. So I was sitting there, and literally it was almost like my chin was touching the top of the table. I mean, I would have had to be Princess and the Pea. My girls would, I don't know what, they would have had to stand on the chairs. So, oh my goodness. So the mistake was that I got
Did you open all of them up?
I opened every single one
I would
of
have
them.
totally done that
gosh.
too.
Every single one of them, took them, examined them all, like what was going to be wrong with the metal chair, examined them all, did the inspection, had them all in the foyer, and I took all the other chairs out, ready to slide, and as I'm sliding the first one towards them, I'm like, and they don't have a tall back either, so they just looked ridiculous.
Oh, no.
Oh, I was so disappointed. So,
So what did you do to fix it?
Well,
Did you keep them?
no, where was I going to put 8 of them?
I don't know.
So I had to repack them all.
Oh my goodness.
Take them in 3 trips back to the post office.
Golly.
Eat the paying for the shipping, drag them into the post office. I mean, picture me like dragging them up the steps, hoping someone would be coming out at the same time I was going in to bring the giant box, then sweating it out and run back to the car, get the other one.
This sounds as painful as Yvonne's. Wow.
It was awful. But here, it would have been so easy had I just, taken a breather, not got so, excited about the look and really measured, because in my head, of course, I know an average dining room table is 30 inches off the ground,
right,
an average chair height is 18 inches,
Yes.
floor to seat, those are
Yes.
numbers, as a decorator you just know. But my inherited table was taller, almost 33 inches off the floor, because it had little casters too. And then the chairs that I ordered, the original Tolex chair, even though they were reproductions, were only 17.25. Now, you think that that's not a big difference, but it was over 3 inches. And picture sitting 3 inches lower at your table. So I could have easily avoided it by just having my handy dandy measuring tape, which I almost go nowhere without, but I didn't bother to measure before I placed the order.
Well, do you both have measuring tapes in your purse?
Yes.
Of course.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
And I also know just offhand, excuse the pun, but from my wrist to my point of my elbow is exactly 12 inches.
Oh, now that's a woman who's ready to shop.
Yeah. Well,
So I can just put that down. I'm like, okay.
do you know that your foot size is from your wrist to your elbow? That's your foot size.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So not
Oh, wow.
everybody's are 12 inches, but you're lucky yours are.
Well, then, and I guess you'd have to take your shoe off, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my husband taught me this. Your index finger from your first joint to your second joint on most people's, that's about an inch long.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the thumb. Okay, good. Okay, Bobby, got it. And he's a doctor, so he
Yes.
knows those
He
important things.
redeemed himself on this broadcast.
Oh,
But,
that's right.
You've got to measure something in a pinch, but the real takeaway is what? Measure, right?
Measure,
ahead.
take measurements. So silly, Kelly. What were you thinking? So,
But I wouldn't
You
have
were
thought to measure
excited.
I wouldn't have thought to measure the seat height. So that's a good point.
yeah. And so then I ended up using a couple of the chairs that I had, painting those, and then getting Parsons for either end with, nice cushioning, so
How
everybody was a
beautiful.
little bit higher.
So
and
wait,
my-
so
my-
you did keep some of the chairs, or you got rid of all?
no. I sent them all back. I
Oh, you sent
them
all back. Okay. But that's a good point. Maybe some cushions would have fixed it for you.
But they just don't take cushions.
No,
that's just
the
not
style
a cushion
doesn't.
chair.
Oh,
And
okay.
there's no even,
Okay.
I just, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Go ahead, clean out your closet, then head straight to Quinn's. I love every item Quince offers, from wardrobe to decor, and I can really recommend their Ultra Stretch Super Wide Leg Pant at $49.90. The price is unbeatable, and the look is so flattering. It keeps you in on top and flares out of the bottom. Everything feels right with Quince. The price, the quality, and the sustainability. Quince offers a range of luxury wardrobe and home goods at prices within reach. And like Quince's clothing, their home goods are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. Once you've cleaned out your closet and refreshed with Quince, you can also add something to your home decor. So give your wardrobe and your home the refresh it needs with Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. And let me know how you love those pants. Pesto pork chops over Parmesan polenta. Not that easy to say, but oh so easy to make with Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit company for eating well, and we have such a great deal for you. You're going to save $250. Listen on for the details on that. Green Chef makes eating well easy for any lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals. You know, we're getting into the busy holiday season, so it's a perfect time to have Green Chef help you out. Let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with their chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients and nothing artificial. And you know what? You don't have to lose track of your healthy eating habits during the holidays. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with their registered dietitians who will walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. So sign up for your free session and start on the road towards better health today. And that deal I want to tell you about, visit greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. So that's greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order.
All right, got it. Well, like I said, I did have the Pepto-Bismol problem with the wall color, but I also had a situation back when I had lots of color. I did, right when I started my blog, go very neutral, but there was a time before that I tried it to go neutral, but I wasn't ready for it. I thought, I really should go with a neutral color, so I bought, I don't know how many yards of fabric, because I decided to slip cover my sofa. So I bought, 20, 30, I have no idea how much yardage I bought. It was way more than I needed. I think the real problem too was it was a synthetic, and I really don't like synthetic fabrics to work with. I really much prefer a natural fiber. So I was never going to like this fabric, and I should have known. I wasn't crazy about it when I bought it. And listen, that is the first thing I've got to tell people. If you're not in love with something, don't buy it, especially if it's something, especially like cut fabric that normally you cannot return.
Oh, I have so much cut fabric.
I know.
That's like the #1 rule. If you don't love it, don't get it.
I know, it seems so obvious, doesn't it?
Well, we do foolish things in the moment.
So not only was it a big expense of buying all the fabric, then I started sewing it. And now it's not only expense, it's my time that I've invested. And you know how this goes. The more time you invest in it, the more money, the more you feel like you cannot change your mind. So I'm halfway sewing this slip cover, and I realize it looks like crap. I don't like it. I mean, really. Like I'm sewing and crying at the same time. It looks horrible. So finally, I just had to really, have my come to Jesus moment. And I just said, this is not fixable. I don't like the fabric. So if I don't like it half finished, I'm not going to like it when it's going to be completely finished. So I bundled up the fabric I had not cut, because I remembered that I think if you had so much yardage, if you had bought enough, they would let you return it, but there would be a restocking fee. And I just remember thinking, I want this stuff out of my house so badly. So I took it up there, and they actually took it back, and I took a little hit, but I was so happy, so happy.
Yep.
So
I
Yeah,
gave
and
that
it
a
wasn't
win.
going to
That
get
was
any
good.
better.
No, it
Yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
It
Good
was a
job.
big.
My
So
sister, excuse me, my sister slip covers. I mean, she slip covered Ace Soap, and she did a fabulous job. And she said, Yvonne, I could never do this for a living. I'd have to be a prostitute instead. That's how much she hated doing these upholstering because it's so.
That's really, yeah, okay.
Because I mean, that's how bad it was. It was so time consuming to her.
That's hilarious. And that's going to stick with me. That's my takeaway. Like, okay.
But you're a very good seamstress.
how bad
and you
is
love to
this?
do it.
Would I prefer to be a prostitute than do this?
but I kind of feel the same way about doing them for other. I just kind of say I love it sewing a little bit, but I don't love it that much.
Oh, I am just in awe of anyone making a slip cover. Like, I can do pillows, and I usually do a, one of those envelope enclosures. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's,
Sure.
what I think about decorating mistakes is, sometimes you take the hit. It's usually some money involved, and it's most certainly some time. Whether it's Bobby's or yours. Scaffolding or fabric or repackaging giant boxes of chairs and sending them back. Everybody has something like that they've done, and most of the things are fixable. One thing that I think is a decorating mistake that is more of a maybe a philosophy or maybe even a confidence thing. When I first moved to California, I had a friend, and we're still friendly, but I just don't see her as much. Our kids are not in the same school anymore, and she just had the coolest house, and it was, to my mind, like so fresh and so California, and it was real mid-century and lots of color and kind of really edgy art, and I just think, oh my gosh, like, she's just so cool, and I am just not cool. Like, I brought all my East Coast stuff, and I had floral painted furniture, and I had some other, overstuffed things, and I just started to think I should have some things like more mid-century things, more edgy things, just because somebody else had it or because I moved somewhere or something. And so I tried, and I bought some pieces. They were not particularly expensive, and I kept moving them around my house and trying to make them work. And ultimately, what I decided is I really liked to visit her house, and I appreciated her style, but that was not me. And I didn't need to be like that because of a time or a place or geography, that I needed to be true to myself. So I think my overarching thought about avoiding decorating mistakes and blunders is really try to be true to yourself and don't try to emulate someone else's style just because you think it's the hot thing or because you should. Use what you love, and if you buy what you love, and occasionally you're going to make a mistake, the fabric's going to seem like a great bargain, but it's not an all cotton fabric, or the chairs are going to seem great but they're too short. You're going to make those kinds of mistakes, but if overall you try to be true to yourself, and if you buy things you love, you'll find a place for them. It might
That
not be
is
the
such
place
good
you
advice.
originally thought. Like, I just bought two pieces, and I thought I know exactly where they're going to go, and I got them home, and they just didn't work there. But I loved them so much, I just walked around the house with them, and boom, I found another place that is perfect. And because I love them, they work.
I think you're absolutely right, Kelly. And that's something that I'm really trying to say a lot to clients is you really need, really one of the most important steps is to know what your style is. I think that probably is the essence of all the failures, not all of them, but a lot of failures we make is not knowing what our style is, because then we buy something and it doesn't, because so-and-so had it in her house and it was so cute there. But I mean, if you know your style, I think you're going to cut away about half the mistakes you would make otherwise.
I so agree with that. And another thing that I think you can really learn from making these mistakes. And I think so many people are so afraid. There's like a fear that they're going to make a mistake that they just don't go ahead and do something. That to me is a tragedy. because life is messy. We make mistakes in every realm of our life. Why would you not think you'd make them in decorating? And you just try to fix them up. I mean, I have a post called your five biggest decorating mistakes and how to fix them. We'll put that in the show notes because it's more of a, I sort of feel like today is like a therapy group. Like we're all talking about it and going, it's okay. We all make mistakes, but don't be afraid of making a mistake, because if you're afraid of making a mistake, you get stuck. And I don't like to be stuck. Let's get unstuck and move forward. You make a mistake, you learn from it, you move on. You make the best out of it that you can. It happens to
And I'm
everybody.
going to say, Yvonne, that I used to develop courses back in the corporate world way before blogging, and we would include examples of what it looked like when you did these calculations and statistical stuff correctly, but it was just as important to include what it looked like when you did it wrong. And we called them non-examples. I worked with an instructional designer. She called them non-examples. But that is making mistakes. I believe you learn more from mistakes that you make than when you don't make mistakes.
I agree with you. Absolutely. So that's one of our big takeaway tips then, is just don't be afraid to make a mistake. It happens. Most mistakes are totally fixable.
I think so too. And there's so many things, even like a wrong purchase that you can't return. A lot of times you can use it in another room. Sometimes we just have to bite the bullet and, do what we did, repaint or take the fabric back and do the restocking charge. Or, what Kelly did was just eating that shipping charge. Sometimes, but a lot of times you can just use it somewhere else. I mean, has that happened to any of you? Where you just move something?
yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like a chair or something doesn't work. I do it with rugs all the time. I'm one of those people who love to, I get a little tired of rugs. I don't know why, but I'm always switching them to different rooms, and they look, they're fresh and new because of that. But I've also gotten a rug for the foyer that totally didn't work. It works perfectly in a guest bedroom.
What about what about professionals? I mean, is this something? What do you think? Do you think readers feel like professionals don't make mistakes?
Oh,
Well,
I
I
think they
know
would be
from
mistaken
experience
to
they
think
do.
that.
Yes, I know from experience they do make mistakes. And if a professional comes to your house and makes a mistake, it is their responsibility, hopefully, if they're credible, that they're going to fix it, as long as you didn't tell them the mistake to make.
Oh yes, exactly. If you didn't give them clear instructions on to make that mistake, but if they didn't measure something correctly, or that is not your problem, that's their problem. So, and if
Yes.
sometimes you sign a contract with somebody who comes in to do some professional decorating for you, and you should make sure that there's a clause in there that if something is not right, that it is their responsibility.
Yeah, I think there's a whole mindset that you grow into after you've been decorating a while and you've made a lot of mistakes and you've had some successes too, that you just go with it. You just go for it. You plan it out well, you read the fine lines, you take your tape measure and measure everything. There's just some different steps you have to go through when you do a project. As a matter of fact, that's on my blog today. And once you have those covered, that gives you a lot of confidence to go ahead. And if you make a mistake, well, it's just how it is. Usually you can fix it. I don't cry anymore over a wrong paint color.
Oh, there you go. Well, and when I worked, I've had, a lot of magazine shoots at my house, and there's always a stylist there. And I remember one particular stylist, and I mean, this stylist was an incredible professional. She had so many times she's had her work on covers. So she's had quite a few covers. And I'm going to tell you, she came in and would style a particular area that they were getting ready to shoot, and then she would change it and change it and change it. She would change it maybe 10 times before they actually shot it. And that was a real learning experience for me, to see that she was not afraid to change until she felt like she got it right.
Anita, that is such a good point. I call that playing. You've got to play around with things. You add things, edit things, stand back, look at it from a different angle, rework it, add something new until it feels good to you. And then you may come back later and go, okay, this sort of doesn't look right, and you'll change something else. Wonderful, wonderful point. Most people don't get it right on the first try.
Kelly?
And if any of you have decorating mistakes or blunders that you want to share with us, either for a laugh or because you're in the midst of it, check out the show notes, which will be at our website, decoratingtipsandtricks.com. And there's a phone number there, and you can call in and leave us a message. And maybe we'll use your mistake or blunder or question on an upcoming episode.
Yes, thanks, Kelly. And I also want to mention one other thing, and this was something I learned from working with this instructional designer, and that is that you can learn almost anything by yourself without going to an official class if you can just know two things. You need to know first when you've messed up, whenever you're doing whatever. So you need to know when you've done it wrong, and then you need to know how to fix it. If you can have those two pieces of information, you can teach yourself just about anything.
Green Chef is a delicious delight any time of year, but especially during the holidays. What a wonderful vision to behold as the Green Chef boxes on your doorstep. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. And it makes eating well so easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat a more balanced diet. So let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season. And if you've got guests coming, shop Green Bundles. They're now available at the Green Market. It's your one-stop shop for nutritious grab-and-go breakfast, including vegan options, brunch kits, wholesome lunches, ready-to-eat snacks, veggie sides, and more. You can feel your best this December and do your best with Green Chef because they offset 100% of the delivery emissions as well as 100% of the plastic in every box. Go to greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT and get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add Dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health. Potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT and use the code DTT.
That's
an awesome takeaway from today's talk.
Yeah.
And do you, Kelly, did you have a takeaway you want to share?
Well, mine is very simple. Take measurements. Maybe do it twice.
Put that tape measure in your pocket.
Or become very friendly with your postman and make sure he'll take your boxes with. But definitely take measurements. Even if you think you know all the general measurements, measure the particular item.
Excellent, excellent advice. How about you, Yvonne? What's your takeaway?
I do. I have one, and it's have a plan. I love the saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that's very true.
Well,
so plan it out. Go through some steps. Take your measurements, like Kelly said. Know what you're buying. Know the return policy, or a project that you're doing. Know how it works before you start. Just don't get in there and just start it. Take a little time in planning. It makes a big difference.
Oh, so thanks so much for joining us, everyone. And remember, we're here to inspire you to create a beautiful home.
Hey there, if you're loving our podcast like we're loving our podcast, we would love you to rate and review us. Head to iTunes to do that. It's easy and it would mean so much to us. And if you do rate and review us, we're going to enter you to win a fantastic giveaway. The details for the giveaway are in the show notes for this episode, and you can find the show notes at decoratingtipsandtricks.com.